All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. The illustrious, soon to be Hall of Fame career of quarterback Tom Brady has come to an end. Brady made the announcement this morning as he ends one of the most illustrious careers in National Football League history. You think about the 23 years that Brady played in the NFL, a 15-time Pro Bowl selection, three-time NFL MVP, seven-time Super Bowl champion, five-time Super Bowl MVP, the NFL's all-time leader in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and pass completions, just to name some of his accolades. We're also talking about Tom Brady having a regular season record of 251 and 82, while in the postseason he is 35 and 13. And just to give you an idea into what Brady has done in the postseason alone with the win losses, you're talking about some teams, it takes them 5 years, if not more, to win 35 games. Brady has done that, and he's played enough games in the postseason alone to amount to about three regular seasons in the National Football League. He made the playoffs in every year that he was a starting quarterback, with the exception of 2002. You go back to Brady being drafted in 2000. Of course, he spent the bulk of that year on the bench. And then, of course, the 2008 season when he was injured in week number one. But for the most part, Brady's been that guy. I mean, this was the only season where Brady had a losing record. This guy has consistently gone out there, gone about his business, and most importantly, won. Now, the game was never in the bag if you were a Tom Brady opponent. Obviously, we're going to focus on Super Bowl number 51 with the Atlanta Falcons as they found that out the hard way. Of course, Brady helping the Patriots and leading them to to overcome that 28-3 deficit. You think about some of his other postseason scenarios. I go back to the AFC Championship game several years ago against the Jacksonville Jaguars when it looked like the Patriots were down and out. You go back to that divisional game many years ago against the San Diego Chargers, where the Chargers appeared to have that one in the bag, and Brady led the Patriots to a comeback win. These are just some of his accomplishments. There are so many more. Now, you look at it, he took over for Drew Bledsoe when Bledsoe got injured in 2001. And of course, Bledsoe basically got Wally pipped because during that season, Brady's first year as a starter, his second year in the NFL, he helped the Patriots overcome an 0-2 deficit to begin that season. They got on a roll, won the AFC East, got to the playoffs, and of course, the rest was history en route to winning Super Bowl number 36. And speaking of that Super Bowl, that basically became Tom Brady's coming out party because, we know that the St. Louis Rams were very favored, heavily favored in that game. The Patriots defense really propped up the offense for the majority of that game. When the Rams came back late to tie the game, a lot of people, even John Madden, who was commentating the game, thought that it was going to be best for Brady and the Patriots to take a knee and play for overtime. And they were aggressive, and Brady led them down the field, got them in the field goal range. And then, of course, Adam Vinatieri made that kick. And then, of course, the dynasty was created. You think about Super Bowl number 38, duking it out, going back and forth with Carolina Panthers quarterback Jake Delhomme. And then, of course, getting them in field goal position once again late in that game. And of course, Adam Vinatieri sealing it once more. Coming back the following year in Super Bowl number 39 to help New England defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. And in doing so, the Patriots were the last team. Now, you got to go all the way back to 2004 to find a team that was able to repeat as Super Bowl champions. And then, of course, that epic 2007 season where Brady consistently hooked up with wide receiver Randy Moss, throwing for a then NFL record 50 touchdowns, completing nearly 70% of his passes. The Patriots became the first team in NFL history to go 16-0 in a regular season, and then of course they fell one victory short of winning it all as they fell to the New York Giants 17-14 in Super Bowl number 42. The knee injury, which derailed his season in 2008, coming back in 2009, getting that MVP in 2010. And that was basically where Brady 2.0 was born because a lot of people expected a downward spiral in his career. No, we were just seeing a rebirth. And then, of course, the Patriots changed their philosophy with the smaller wide receivers, the double tight end sets with, of course, Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, going to the likes of Julian Edelman and Wes Welker and Danny Amendola throughout the years. And of course, the Patriots from 2011 all the way to 2018 with Brady at quarterback, they were in the AFC Championship game at least. You're talking about that stretch, 5 Super Bowl appearances as well, 3 Super Bowl titles. Of course, the thriller in Super Bowl number 49 between the Patriots and Seattle Seahawks, which came down to the infamous Malcolm Butler play. I talked about the comeback against the Falcons, Super Bowl number 53 versus the Los Angeles Rams. And then, of course, Super Bowl 55 2 years ago as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in his first year with the Bucs, what did he do? He helped to turn around the fortunes of that franchise. They went on and got their second Super Bowl championship in franchise history. And then, of course, Tom Brady took home his fifth and final Super Bowl MVP honors. You think about it, the battles that he had with the Manning brothers, and of course, he lost to Eli Manning in both of those Super Bowls. Both of those contests could have gone either way. The battles over the years with Peyton Manning for AFC supremacy. First, when Peyton Manning was a member of the Indianapolis Colts, and then finally, when Peyton Manning finished his career with the Denver Broncos, you consistently saw Brady and Manning duking it out for home field advantage, consistently meeting in the playoffs. And then just to think about it, because overall, this is the end of an era. And I say that because from 2001 to 2018, it was either Brady, Peyton Manning, or Ben Roethlisberger for the most part with the Pittsburgh Steelers that were dominating the AFC. And I say that because over that stretch, Brady, Manning, and Roethlisberger combined to win 16 AFC championships, 10 Super Bowl titles as well coming out of the AFC. So those three men and those three teams, or of course the four teams, once you factor in that Peyton played with both the Colts and Denver Broncos, those are the teams that dominated over that stretch. But then you think about Brady dominating the pardon me, the AFC East with the Patriots. And, they consistently ran roughshod over the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets at that time. And then you think about Brady and Belichick, one of the better head coach quarterback combos that the National Football League has ever seen. And we've seen some very successful ones over the years. You think about the likes of Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr. Honestly, it's one of those. Brady and Bill Belichick are definitely in that mix. So you ask yourself, what's next for a guy like Tom Brady? Obviously, he has nothing else to prove on the football field. Granted, this past season was not the way that he wanted to go out, and I really feel okay because we're going over this again because we know that he made the announcement a year ago to retire to the day, and then he decided to come back, citing unfinished business. And for me, I really felt that when he came back this past season, he really thought that this team was close to winning a championship with the Bucks. Because if you go back last year to the 2021 season, they really wanted to run it back and they came very close. That was a slugfest between the Bucks and the eventual Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. And Brady kind of felt, and I don't know him personally, but I really do feel that he believed, you know what, we were close and let's build off of this and get back. But they were never able to recapture that momentum. Brady had too many off the field things that he had to deal with in his personal life. The Bucks were not the team that he expected them to be, and Brady's play was not where it needed to be as well. And when it's all said and done, you know what? Sometimes you just have to be content and walk away. And it's not, I'm not saying that because it's easy, because this man has played in the NFL now for 23 years. You think about what he accomplished collegiately at the University of Michigan, playing high school ball, playing pee wee ball. That's a lot of football. And it's very difficult to just flip that switch on and hang it up. So it's not, from the outside looking in, people might say, okay, well, you got to go. But at the end of the day, it's a very difficult decision when you've done something for so long, but also you've done it at such a high and extraordinary level. And just going back to talk about his career at the University of Michigan, I remember when Brady sat behind Brian Griese and he was his backup when Michigan won the national championship in 1997, earned the starter's job heading into the 1998 season. Michigan went into that year ranked number 5, and in spite of the fact that they didn't have Charles Woodson, the Heisman Trophy winner who went on to the NFL, and Brian Griese, a lot of people felt that Michigan had enough to contend once again for the national title. The Wolverines came into that year ranked number 5 with Brady as their starter, went on the road for his first game out at South Bend against Notre Dame and got dominated. Came back next week at home for their home opener against Syracuse and got run off the field by Donovan McNabb and company. And you had people at that time that wanted Lloyd Carr to go with Drew Henson. Drew Henson did replace Brady in that game, but Brady went back and got his starter's job back the following week. And after Michigan began that year 0-2, the Wolverines would rattle off their next 8 wins, the next 8 games for wins before losing to Ohio State in the regular season finale, coming back and beating Arkansas in the Citrus Bowl to finish 9-3. Comes back for his senior year. Michigan gets an Orange Bowl bid. They had that epic with Alabama. And of course, Brady ended his collegiate career as the Orange Bowl MVP. And I, for one, was very shocked to see Brady fall all the way to the 6th round coming out of the NFL, coming out of college into the NFL. It was a scenario where I did not expect him to be a first rounder, third or fourth rounder, probably, maybe second. But at the end of the day, he fell all the way to the 6th. And I think the fact that he fell that far and the fact that so many people obviously doubted him, even the Patriots, because it took them to the 6th round to take him, I think that fueled him. And it's one of those where, you know what, professional athletes, regardless of the sport, they don't need a lot to add additional motivation. And I think the fact that Brady was a 6th round pick is probably what drove him to the levels of success that he was able to achieve on the gridiron. But at the end of the day, this man doesn't have anything else left to prove. You're talking about arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, one of the greatest football players of all time, one of the greatest winners that the world of professional sports has ever seen. He's probably going to go to the broadcast booth. He's probably going to spend time with his family. But at the end of the day, there'll never be another Tom Brady. We talk about goats, and I think that term is thrown around a little bit too much. We talk about first ballot Hall of Famers, and I think that term is thrown around a little bit too much. We talk about players deserving video tributes, and I think that term is talked about a little bit too much. We talk about players deserving statues, and I think that's talked about a little bit too much. But when it's all said and done, all of those scenarios that I just mentioned, whether it's being a first ballot Hall of Famer, getting a statue, being a GOAT, Tom Brady embodies all of that because he legitimately is. And I mean, records are meant to be broken. Somebody one day will surpass Brady and they'll get 90,000 passing yards. You might see a player one day eventually get more than 7 Super Bowl championships. It's not easy to be done because you think about it. The next closest player is Charles Haley with 5. And the next closest quarterback, you got to go to both Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw. It's not easy to get there. You may never see another player get to 10 Super Bowls, if not more, like Tom Brady did. So when it's all said and done, you got to respect the greatness. This man did it for more than 2 decades. Obviously, the rules have changed in order to protect quarterbacks to allow them to have longer careers. But even with that said, I don't see that many of them playing more than 2 decades or coming close to playing 2 decades. It's one of those. Tom Brady reached the George Blanda era as far as like longevity. And of course, George Blanda in his later years for the Raiders was more of a kicker than a quarterback. But nonetheless, you got to respect what this man has done. And at the end of the day, there'll never be another Tom Brady, and there will never be another TB12. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.